And away we go. Wednesday edition of the show, all across America, on the SportsMap Radio network of stations. Worldwide on the SportsMap Radio app. It's hump day. Oh, yeah, you know it. Happy to be with you tonight. Busy 3 hours ahead at 1-800-224-2004. That is the telephone number. You know it. 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show from anywhere in America, anywhere in the world. At the back page. Hit me up there. At the back page. Boy, the Knicks got destroyed tonight in Brooklyn. Whew. All of a sudden, Brooklyn's starting to find its footing. And guess who's not playing? Not saying. I'm just saying. You think it's any coincidence the team is starting to play well when Kyrie Irving isn't there? I'd be shocked if he played another game. I'd be really, really surprised if Kyrie Irving ever plays another game in Brooklyn. Just the confluence of events that have gotten us to where we are. So we'll see what happens there. We got a lot to do in this first hour of the show. It's the beginning of the end for one of the NFL's most prominent quarterbacks, and I got my popcorn ready. Matter of fact, can we make some popcorn? I think we need some popcorn tonight. Please? Can I have some popcorn? I need some popcorn for this upcoming segment. Let's do it. And please turn off your phones. NBA live betting. Our game of the night is the Lakers and the Clippers. We will be providing live betting advice on that game. Last night we went 1-1 in our NHL bets. We had the under with the Kraken. And we also had Nashville plus 3.5. We split the baby on those. Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk joins us 32 minutes from now as well. So don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Wednesday edition of The Cash-In with me, Jason Page, on SportsMap Radio. No, I was telling my husband to turn his cell phone off and make me some popcorn. With butter. Lots of butter. No? That's not going to work. Nope, he left. He was so unsatisfied. Da 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 da. Where you going?
I think you yelled at me. I'm popcorn. You can forget about it. I'm gonna go get the car.
Wow. So there you go. I don't know if you heard that, but my husband just told me off and walked out the door. Yep. Said after you yelled at me to make popcorn, he said you could make it yourself. There you go. Actually, he's going to pick up the car, which we have at the charging station down the street. I have a hybrid. Chevy Volt, gets 50 miles of electric. Not the plug-in one, yeah. Yeah, I love my hybrid. I might get gas once a month. Oh, it's great. Who's in the studio with you? Oh, I thought I heard somebody talking. Gotcha. Continuing with this first hour of the show, what would you do if you were the Packers organization? How would you handle Brett? I don't know why I keep calling him Brett Favre. How would you handle Aaron Rodgers at this point? I mean, to me, and again, I try to take emotion out of it. I'm in a glass case of emotion. I try to take emotion out of as many important decisions as I can. And they always say in life, you should never make, big decisions after, a big thing happens in your life, that sort of thing. You should always wait. It's like the whole email thing. You get a bad email from somebody, don't respond right away. Take a breath. Like if I had done that a few different times in my career, I might still be working in some of these other places I've worked. I mean, no kidding. I'm a hot reactor. When I was younger, I was more of a hot reactor, and as I've gotten older, I've take a breath. Sometimes I'll even write the email and just put it in my drafts and let it sit there for a few days. And then if you really want to send it after a few days, then you need to. That sort of thing. Some advice for the young, anyway, if you're trying to make a career of it. And whatever it is you do, because even in radio, sometimes we have to answer to people and how you answer. Like I had something happen on Sunday. I won't share what it was, but I got some news on Sunday, and my initial reaction was just go and boom, bang out an angry email to a certain person and be like, what are you thinking? How could you do this? And I just let it sit, waited a couple days. Now I'm fine. I have no need to send the email. So I'm curious to know what you would do. If I made you, well, I can't make you owner of the Green Bay Packers because the entire franchise is owned by shareholders. It's one of the only franchises in all of sports that has that sort of setup. Let's just pretend I can make you the owner or the VP of football operations, whatever, VP of player personnel. And I said, what do you do with Aaron Rodgers at this point? What would you do? How much longer do you let this go before you decide to put him on the bench and let Jordan Love play? 1-800-224-2004. The reason I ask this question to lead off the show is that the end is nigh when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. He may not know it yet because he's inside the belly of the beast. He's literally living the situation every day. And it's much harder to see things from the inside than it is from the macro view, 20,000 feet up. But anybody watching, even as the casual football observer from the outside, can see the end is near for Aaron Rodgers. All the signs are there. Doesn't go to the OTAs. Doesn't, interact with his new teammates during the offseason. Doesn't try and build a rapport with them. He's busy doing Jeopardy or ayahuasca or whatever the hell it is he wants to do. Investigating alternative therapies for COVID-19, whatever. Just take your pick of the number of different things he was doing that had nothing to do with his full-time job, which he now treats like a part-time job, and that is being a quarterback in the NFL. And then they get off to this terrible start. He plays okay, but not great. Then he starts blaming his teammates. Then he's talking about we need to simplify things. Then it's we're underdogs and it's us against the world. Then it's, well, I'm criticizing my teammates, but none of them have come up to me and said it's a problem. And then they, lose in Detroit this week, and he throws 3 interceptions, and then he goes on Pat McAfee and tells the world, but I'm Aaron Rodgers. You can't criticize me. I'm still a 2-time MVP, damn it. I've still got a Super Bowl ring. I don't give a bleep what anybody says. We played the audio yesterday on the show, where it was kind of, I made a few mistakes, but ... And then the other shoe dropped today. And you knew it was only a matter of time. We're at the halfway point of the season. And the story today, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. Some of the wide receivers in Green Bay are unhappy with the way Aaron Rodgers has treated them. Quote, some of the young wide receivers have been painted as scapegoats for the Packers' problems despite Aaron Rodgers' absence during OTAs, which isn't sitting well with some there, Fowler wrote. Rodgers hasn't shied away from calling out his young teammates. Previously said, quote, I think guys who are making too many mistakes shouldn't be playing. That includes apparently the quarterback. It should. So what do you do at this point if you're the Packers organization? You've got young receivers that feel like they're being mistreated by this quarterback. You've got a quarterback that's angry at the media. Now he's longing for the days of Mike McCarthy when all he did was take a dump on the guy while he was there. And I know that to be a fact. I shared the story last night on the air. I was there when Aaron Rodgers sent a text message to a friend of mine that's close to him. We were having lunch out in the Bay Area, and Aaron texted him, and all he did was belittle, besmirch Mike McCarthy. But now, I miss Mike McCarthy. We're gonna roll out the red carpet for him. Rodgers a phony. He's a total joke. Great, you won a Super Bowl. So did Brad Johnson. Great, you won a Super Bowl. So did Trent Dilfer. So did Jeff Hostetler. Want me to keep going? Can you get a second one? Probably not. That's what differentiates some of the greats from the GOATs. And sorry, Aaron Rodgers, for all of his greatness on the field, for all of the statistics, and all of that is wonderful. He's got one ring to show for it. In 20 years, he's got one ring. That's it. 15 years, whatever. A lot of guys out there with multiple rings. Aaron Rodgers got one, but he acts like he's got 5. He acts like Tom Brady should act. Isn't that interesting? Brady, you can't tell if he's won 1 Super Bowl or 8. Rodgers, you'd think he won 8. And now when it starts to leak, when it starts to get out of the locker room, and guys start to begin speaking out anonymously to the media, the snowball's rolling down the hill, and it's only getting bigger. And there isn't much that can stop it at this point, aside from the one thing that is least likely to happen in this scenario, and that is Green Bay to actually win football games. They are a 5-point underdog at home against Dallas in the late window on Sunday afternoon. The total is 43. Dallas is minus 230 on the money line. The Packers are plus 190. And quite honestly, that might even be more respect than Green Bay deserves, because Dallas's defense is going to eat him up. We were talking about yesterday with Nick Ferguson on the show. He said he might be trying to be nice to Mike McCarthy so he doesn't unleash the wolves on him and unleash that pass rush against a Packers offensive line that's been meh at best. Dallas is going to destroy Green Bay. And this one could take place on their home field at Lambeau. And that could mark the end of the Aaron Rodgers era. If it doesn't, it won't be much later. It won't be much longer. There will be little incentive for the Packers to continue the charade of trotting Aaron Rodgers out there only to get destroyed every week anyway or beaten by teams like the Lions. There won't be any reason. Find out what you have in Jordan Love. Start beginning the process of moving on with your franchise, because it takes time to figure out what you have in some of these young quarterbacks. I mean, look how long it's taken for the Bears to sort of figure out, oh, Justin Fields can actually play. Took almost 2 seasons. Daniel Jones with the Giants, I mean, they were basically at the end of their rope in terms of having to make a decision on whether he's the quarterback of the future. And he still may not be. But the reality is they're 6-3, off to one of their best starts, and are in a position, or 6-2, whatever it is, and off to one of their best starts. And Daniel Jones is in a position to be able to continue his career potentially in New York. You're going to need a couple of years to find out what Jordan Love is, and those might be painful years. You might as well start the clock on that now. And that means the opposite of placating Aaron Rodgers, which they've always been willing to do throughout his entire tenure in Green Bay, at least emotionally, if not in terms of operationally, because they weren't putting the players around him he would have preferred to have. Devontae Adams on line 1. But what would you do if you were the Packers organization? I want to hear from you. From anywhere in America, 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And again, if you want to tweet at the show, do it at the back page. Hit me up on Twitter. Send me your thoughts there at the back page. NBA live betting. Lakers and Clippers are underway out at Crypto in Los Angeles. We'll let you know what's going on there. We'll see if we have a live bet to give you yet. Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk drops by the program about 17 minutes from now. We'll get into some NBA items with him. Big news from the land of the Brooklyn Nets. Ime Udoka will not be the head coach after all. We'll tell you who will be when we talk with him. Stick around. More to do. The Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Okay. What about? Okay, that's fine. Just listen to the call. If it feels like it's going off the rails, I'll send him on his way. Thanks for the heads up. Yep, I do know. Thank you. I don't think it's Alan Lazard that's throwing Aaron Rodgers under the bus. I think it's more likely, a Romeo Dobbs or Christian Watson, guys like that. 3-6 Packers in Dallas to take on the Cowboys this week. Thursday night game. Oh, one of my favorite things we do on this show is our weekly early check-ins on the lines. We'll do that coming up later on in the show. The lines for week 9? Week 10? Amazing. So anyway, we'll do that coming up a little later on in the show. But I was asking, what would you do if you were the Packers GM? How would you handle this situation? If you were Packers ownership, you've got a guy that's won a Super Bowl, multiple MVPs, beloved by the fan base, beloved by the city. But it's obvious the end is coming. And these are never easy decisions. It's never easy to part ways with your star player in these situations. I told you what I would do. I'd give it another game, maybe 2. And then I sit down with Aaron Rodgers and you have to have that uncomfortable conversation where you just say, look, you could either help be part of the future solution here, or you could sit and sulk and have it your way if you want to do that and burn the bridge on the way out the door. Time heals all wounds, and I'm sure eventually the two sides will come back together to honor Aaron Rodgers, 5 years from now or something, when people have more time and perspective to look back. You could tell this is not going to be some ceremonial exit for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. All right, Thunderman wants to talk about it on the Cash-In with Jason Page. 800-224-2004 if you want to weigh in. Thunderman, what's going on? What? Well, Eli Manning's won 2. It's true. That's such a great call, Thunderman. It's such a good point. He's not. That's the greatest way to put it. I could not have said that better myself. He's not the quarter pounder that you see in the commercial. He's the quarter pounder that you get that it's got the sad looking patty on it. Onions falling out the side. It's exactly what Aaron Rodgers is at this point. It's such a great analogy. I don't think I could have done that better myself. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. On Twitter, at the back page, if you want to hit me up. It's great. But it's true. NBA live betting Our game of the night is the Clippers and the Lakers. Game one of the ESPN doubleheader was the Knicks getting destroyed by 30-plus in Brooklyn against the Nets, against a Nets team that's starting to play a lot better. We'll talk about that in the next segment with Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, his bi-weekly visit on the show. And the Lakers, doesn't look much better right now. They trail the Clippers 34-19, and the Clippers are starting to play a little bit better too. The live betting on the Lakers and the Clippers. We will give you a pick at some point during the night on this game. I'm not going to say when, but you got to be listening because we have been probably, I'll say about 70% on our live bets. I really should be keeping statistics on this stuff, be a bit more scientific. John Belmer, by the way, is our producer engineer on the show tonight in Houston, working on the show. We should be keeping stats on this stuff, Belmer. Boy, dynamite drop in, Monty. Those broadcast lessons are really paying off. Yeah, we should. That's all you got? I bring you in, I give you a grand introduction, and all you give me is, yeah, we should. Yeah. Okay. Clippers lead the Lakers 36-21. The live betting looks like this. Lakers plus 10.5 on the live betting line. They are plus 400 on the money line, and 224.5 is your total as of right now. I think it's a little early to make a live bet on this game. I like to have a little more information. Live betting, like any bet, is all about information. And I don't have enough data compiled through the first, 11 minutes and 29 seconds of this game to give you a determination on how exactly I would want to live bet this game. So 36-21, Clippers on top of the Lakers as they get set to wrap up the first quarter. Lakers now at plus 430 on the money line with the Clippers at minus 670. So obviously the value is going to be in the Lakers if you believe that they have any shot of turning this game around. And I talked about this last night when we were talking about hockey. If a hockey game is 4-0 or 4-1, early second period or something like that, you're pretty certain that team's not coming back to win. In the NBA, if you're down 15, 16, 17 in the first quarter or second quarter, you feel like there's a good chance that team's going to make a run and potentially win. Because it happens all the time in the NBA. We see it all the time. You watch the highlights on SportsCenter every night. Team rallies, comes from behind. They're down early. Before you know it, it's a 3-point game with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And that's why live betting, I think, is really advantageous if you're a fan of the NBA. So we'll keep tabs on that game right now. Lakers at the end of one trail the Clippers 38-21. It is our live betting game of the night. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 if you want to weigh in on anything we're talking about. On Twitter at the back page as well. We will get into some more NBA news. The Nets have made a decision regarding their head coaching position, and it's not who everybody said it was going to be. When the press gets it wrong. We'll talk about it with Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. He joins the cash-in next on SportsMap Radio. you ever hear me play music, don't panic. No. But if I go to do a live read, I might start. I think it's good to have music under a live read. But I've got some beds on my end that I could use to do that because I don't really have a way to cue you, and I don't mind. I don't mind playing a little music on my end. I was trying to get We proceed on this Wednesday. SportsMap Radio, SportsMap Radio app. The telephone number, 1-800-224-2004, on Twitter at the back page if you want to hit me up there. What on earth is on my screen? Oy vey. Always happy to talk NBA as we do. It feels like about every other week we have Kurt Heelan on the show to get into what's going on around the NBA. And today, it just feels like every day there's a big story that comes out of the league. And again, I can't remember an early part of the season where this has been happening so much as it has been this season. So let's bring in Kurt. Joins us from Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Find him on Twitter at Basketball Talk. Kurt, the Nets made the decision to drop the interim tag and hire Jacques Vaughn as head coach. For those that may not be in the know, explain why this happened this way when Ime Udoka, Adrian Wojnarowski, and everybody told us that was who's going to be the next head coach.
It was almost like everybody from CAA wanted that to happen. The deal was pretty simple. Look, there are. I don't think we need to detail just how much of a PR mess the Nets are already in the middle of. So hiring Ime Udoka would have just. Look, apparently this is why I had heard this. This was the guy Kevin Durant wanted. Remember, he was an assistant under Steve Nash. This was somebody who had a lot of success last year. But the backlash after he's been suspended for an inappropriate relationship and whatever else exactly, we don't have all the details. Nobody has, you and I have discussed, nobody quite has all the puzzle pieces together except maybe some people in Boston, and they're not talking, with the organization. But it was enough that they'd suspend him for a year, a coach who took them to the finals last year. If the Nets had hired him while he was on suspension, the backlash would have been insane on top of everything else that was going on with the Nets. And I think ultimately that, and maybe what they learned, maybe the Celtics talked to them about what went on. They just decided to I wouldn't even say the safe route. They took the stable route. They went for stability. They leaned into the guy who's been an assistant there for multiple, I think since 2016, who was there during Atkinson, who was there during Nash, who understands the organization, who is a former NBA head coach. Maybe isn't going to light the world on fire, but certainly isn't going to screw things up. And they kind of went for stability because there's so little of it around them right now. I don't think it's a bad hire. I don't know that I mean, I'll ask you, do you think anybody can coach this team? And I don't know who's going to suddenly come in and turn this team into successful, the contending team they thought they were.
Well, it seems like it seems like more than anything, Kurt, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, it feels like this was more from, what it looked like from a PR and optics standpoint was the reason they opted not to do it more than from a basketball perspective. But do you think there's a chance that he wasn't wanted by a Kevin Durant type that, or some of these other guys that were, associated with this roster? I can't imagine it was that. So it had to be the PR and optics.
Oh, it was optics and PR. And they basically said somebody finally said to, I think it was to Sham, somebody off the record, but somebody with the Nets said, yeah, you know what the problem, we got more information when we did our due diligence, and I'm going to forget the exact phrasing, but they basically said, we understand the backlash that's coming. And they didn't want a piece of it. And I'm not sure I totally blame them on that. It was going to be a firestorm on them if they brought him in after this. I think that would have been true of any organization, but the New York media, where they're already just all over the Nets because of the Kyrie thing, it would have just been a mess.
They've played better, though, here over the last week or so, noticeably without Kyrie Irving on the team, who they've, listed out these requirements for him to come back and play for the team. I'll get to him in a second. Does it seem like there is some sort of correlation? They've been better defensively. Does it seem like there's some sort of correlation between Kyrie's absence and the way this team is playing right now?
I'm trying to decide. I don't know that it's his absence so much as them finding a way to bond through this and just kind of focus on basketball. Kevin Durant's, and he ended up having to walk this back a little bit, but coming out and saying, man, why couldn't we just focus on basketball? Why couldn't this just be about basketball? And his phrasing the first time came off poorly. But I think his intent was really just like, man, I thought we were going to play basketball, and now we're dealing with all this again. I think they found a way to do that. Kevin Durant's been, by the way, MVP level. He's been so good this season. But I don't know. I think that it's more that. I think it's more them settling into a system because they're not getting out. They're not getting. They also remember they haven't had Ben Simmons, and that's been okay.
Do you get the sense, with the requirements they've put on Kyrie in order to come back? I speculated, early in the week, and then I heard other people say it the next day, which seems to happen a lot these days. Not that anybody's listening to what I say. It's merely coincidental, but I suspect that they put this list out knowing he wouldn't acquiesce to it. Oh. And as a result, they have grounds to either let him go, trade him, whatever is going to come that makes sure he is no longer a part of this team. Do you get the sense that is what is happening here?
There are a lot of people around the league who think that, and it makes some sense. Some of that stuff is asking Kyrie Irving to swallow his pride, and good luck with that. I think that's part of the reason that's out there, that it gives them options if they want to do that. By the way, they can't trade him, and it's not that they wouldn't trade him. There's literally nobody. The Lakers aren't taking him right now. Nobody is taking him in a trade. It would be just too toxic. And I'm not sure what you'd get back at this point. I'm not sure if you could get a bag of Takis back in this trade. He's done. He's nobody. He'll get another. I shouldn't say he's done. He will get another contract in the NBA. He will play for somebody next season. I don't know that he'll ever get a multi-year contract again. I think it's going to be year to year. I certainly wouldn't give him. I wouldn't even give him 2 years. A second year would be a team option. can't imagine anybody doing that. That said, he'll get a chance, but I don't know that it's going to be this season or this season with the Nets. I don't see how a trade comes together right now. The only way it does, by the way, is he swallows his pride enough to get back on the floor, play for them. He could start playing again and remind everybody, by the way, he's still ridiculously good at basketball. It's not worth it at some point.
You subtly mentioned Takis in there. Are you a Takis guy?
No, I am not actually a Takis guy, but I have 3 daughters who might have starved to death through high school right now if it were not for Takis.
You know what my go-to was in high school? One of the first things I learned to cook, it was hamburger helper. And it's taken me all through my adult life. Like, if I didn't have hamburger helper, I'd probably be like 180 pounds and a supermodel.
TikTok has changed the cooking revolution. My girls come home now and they're like, they want tomato paste, and like we have to have a supply of tomato paste and like half and half in the house so that they can make like tomato cream pastas every day.
Ooh.
Like that's it sounds fancy, but they learned how to do it on TikTok, and then I watched them do it a couple times and said, let me help you a little.
It's like the ad says. Yeah, it's like the ad says. It's like the ad says. I learned it on TikTok.
Exactly.
Kurt Heel.
They're surviving on it.
Kurt Heel, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, joining us here on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. What Milwaukee is doing, and we've sort of buried the lead because the Nets are such a fascinating watch and a story this year, as the failures of the Lakers have been as well. What Milwaukee has done here out of the gate, there was so much talk about Boston as a finals favorite or a championship favorite. Try and put into context what Milwaukee's been able to do out of the gate here.
They have just come in playing. Continuity so matters at the beginning of a season. Like even good teams are still trying to, the Warriors, because they're making changes off their bench and playing their kids, they're still trying to figure things out. And then the Bucks come in, pretty much the same players, know what they want to do, and Giannis is playing probably the best basketball of his life, which is a kind of ridiculous thing to say. He's playing at such a high level, and they're just out there executing every night, both ends of the floor. Offense has been okay, by the way. Offense, statistically, they're middle of the pack in the league. They're able to score when they need to. Again, they've got the best player walking the face of the earth, so they can go get some buckets, but they're just stopping everybody defensively. So they're doing all this without Chris Middleton, their second best player, their crunch time shot creator. It's not Giannis. In crunch time, they go to Middleton. He's a little more of a classic pick and roll guy, and they can have Giannis set a pick, and it just causes all sorts of problems. They're doing it with Drew Holiday now, kind of in that role. And they don't have, like, Pat Connaughton's not playing, who's a key role player and floor spacer for them, and another guy who can defend. Like, they're just playing at this incredible level, and they are fully capable of keeping up, well, not probably this, probably not 9 out of 10 pace, but they're capable of playing really high-level basketball all season and carrying this into the playoffs and go. I mean, we kind of, I think, took them for granted, right? We're like, oh, Boston will be there, and maybe Cleveland will be fun, and all this. We're all like, yeah, the Bucks will be good. The Bucks will be. I think we just took them for granted, didn't we? Like,
yeah,
still really good.
I think that's very fair to say. And we often do with greatness take it for granted. And sometimes, that's the mark that you have arrived is when you've been taken for granted. Below the fold, you mentioned them briefly. It's the Cavaliers at 8-2. Is this type of start, considering this group's kind of got put together late in the game? Are you surprised with the fact that they've come out firing this well?
Yes, I am actually. I thought they'd be good, but I thought it would take a couple of years. Like, just take some time to blend, take some time to figure out how. Like I said, how is the defense going to work? Because this is not a big backcourt, but their defense has been top 5 in the league or top 10. How were Garland and Donovan Mitchell going to play off each other? Well, they figured that out pretty quickly. Oh, there's a hole at the 3, but nobody's noticing that right now. Like, they just keep playing well and getting better. And, they were out here in LA for a couple of games last week. And I got to say, the first thing you notice is they like each other. This is one of the teams. The Pelicans are kind of this way this year. They just like each other. You can tell they enjoy being around each other. And then they took a lot from the loss to the Clippers because the Clippers forced them, even without Kawhi Leonard, forced them into a playoff style game where it slowed it down. They hunted matchups, which is what the Clippers do. They are. Paul George is a great isolation player. They're certainly better with Kawhi Leonard in that role too. But they hunt matchups. They put you in positions. They are a veteran, smart team that switches everything. And they spent a lot of time, even in the locker room after the game. Donovan Mitchell got 2 quick threes early in the quarter. The Clippers started doubling him and daring other people to beat them, and flashing at him off of those when they didn't just switch. They'd kind of charge at him and double him up. And they were talking in the locker room afterwards. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are back there in the corner of the locker room before the media's in, but they're talking amongst themselves like, how do we handle this better? Talking about like who goes where and how they're going to handle things because they're going to see a lot more of this going forward, and they're trying to figure out who they are. But this is a really good team that's going to be. They're going to be around not only, around this year, but this is a team that I think for the next 3, 4, 5 years is going to be in the mix in the East.
That's Kurt Hanlon, ProBasketballTalk.com. If you want to go and check him out there, NBC Sports does a terrific job. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Have a great week.
You too, man. Take care.
We'll come back and wrap up the hour next. John Belmer. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Just a few minutes till the top of the hour. Have we talked about my friends at playfortickets.com yet? Well, we're about to. You have got to go and check this out. If you are a fan of the NFL, you've got to head over to playfortickets.com and take on their Super Pick 7 contest. Completely free to play. Just go there, sign up, and take part in the Super Pick 7 contest for your chance to go to the big game, football's biggest game, in Glendale, Arizona, coming up in February. Every Sunday of the NFL season, including the playoffs, you have a chance to win. It couldn't be easier. All you got to do is pick the correct side and total on Sunday for 7 games. Correct side and totals on Sunday for 7 games. That's simple. You do it, $50,000 cash in your pocket, 2 tickets to football's biggest game. $50,000 in cash. The things I could do with that. You got to go and check it out. Free to play. Doesn't cost you anything. All you got to do is go there and sign up. Playfortickets.com. Pick the correct side and totals on Sunday for 7 games. Football expertise, you got it? Use it. Go and get those 2 tickets to the 2023 big game. $50,000 cash in your pocket. You also get airfare, hotel accommodations, and as a special bonus for this weekend's game, if you get a perfect score, you'll get a round of golf with John Daly on November 14th. Playfortickets.com. Go and check it out. We're back with another hour of the cash-in on SportsMap Radio. We'll talk about the Vikings. Stay with us. Wake up call. Be right back. Yeah, we need to get that promo out of rotation. Yeah. It was so funny. It's really funny. The only reason it was really apropos was yesterday I went to McDonald's and got a double quarter pounder with cheese and add bacon to it. And it was so sloppy. It just didn't look good. And I was like, wow, this is really timely. It's like, so awful. Bum, 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 bum. I don't care. I don't care. What's up, Babadooks? What did I say, Belmer? What did I say? Another hour of the show begins right now on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Lakers were down like 17-18 in the first quarter. And what did I say to John Belmer, our producer engineer, when we were talking about the live betting on the game? Lakers were like plus 460. I'm going to yell at myself right now because I should have told everybody to hammer the Lakers at plus 460 because now they're down 2 with 1:17 to go in the second quarter. By the way, I'm going to give you a bet under 219.5. That's one bet. I may give more, but right now I'm giving you under 219.5 for the Lakers and Clippers. Oh, hello. We have officially opened the cash register here on the show. 219.5 Lakers and Clippers for the live betting line. That's where it is right now with 1:11 to go, second quarter out at crypto. 219.5. I am telling you right now to bet the under. So that's the pick. According to FanDuel Sportsbook, that's the line. But, I mean, the Lakers were down 17 late in the first quarter, and they were going off at plus 460 on the money line. And that's why there's so much value in live betting. I know we don't usually do the live betting for another 20 minutes, but I had to mention it. because it's one of those things that just kind of drives you nuts. And it's why you've got to be willing, sometimes in these games, these NBA games, if you find a game you want to kind of sit there and do the live betting on, you got to be willing to click the button basically as these games are progressing and go after that live betting money. Takes a little bit of courage, little testicular fortitude, if you will. But that's why I'm here. Provide you a little guidance. So 219.5 is the cash-in number. Our first live bet of the night pick. The Vikings are frauds. I'll give you the latest reason why. Next on the cash-in at SportsMap Radio. You know who else I have to get on? Maybe next week I'll get them on if they win this week. Continuing with our second hour of the show. If you miss anything from the cash-in weeknights, we have a podcast. It goes up right after the show. In fact, our audio mad scientist for tonight, John Belmer's probably working on it as we speak. Putting together the pieces. Something like that. Can you do that, Belmer? Can you do a Yes. Yes, I want to hear your evil laugh. Come on. That's not bad. It's not bad. No, I thought it's all right. Coming up, Oh, stop it. Oh, my God. We used to do those at NBC Sports Radio because O'Reilly just does tons of advertising. And they were one of our big sponsors with NBC Sports Radio. And we used to sing it. We did so many things to just try and keep those things interesting. We'll do our NBA live betting officially coming up in about 12 minutes here on the program. Later in the hour, Pete Carroll being petty and Tom Brady losing millions, $1 million. Also an update, a really kind of sad update on the Brittany Griner story, which I got to be honest, I haven't talked about it a lot because it's such a depressing story. And I follow it every day, and I see it, but it's just such a demoralizing story. What is happening with the WNBA star right now in Russia. So we'll talk about it a little later on in the hour. 1-800-224-2004 is the phone number, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show at the back page if you feel so inclined. Our weekly look inside the lines for the NFL. We'll have that coming up as well later on in the show. But look, I'm not like I'm not a Vikings hater by any means. I'm not one of these people that hates on the Vikings just for the sake of it. I don't have any animus. Other than Aaron Rodgers, who just annoys the hell out of me. I don't really have anybody that where anything I say comes from emotion or bias or anything like that. I mean, I grew up a New York Giants fan, and I find them to be a more compelling watch this year than they've been over the last several years. But again, the only thing I really live and die with, as I've explained on this show a million times before, is Yankees baseball. Other than that, I don't really have an emotional pull towards anything that I talk about in terms of bias. I try to stay as objective as possible in these things. I have not bought into the Vikings all year long. There's two teams I have not bought into all year long that I still don't buy into. One of them's the Vikings. The other's the Jets. The Eagles, I'm getting there. And I know people will say, well, that's crazy. They're undefeated. How could you not buy in on the Eagles? Because I think they're probably the third best team in football. And I still think if you put them in a playoff game, NFC title game, even with home field against a team like the Cowboys or 49ers, I think they're going to have some trouble, especially if those two teams are healthy. So I'm just not there on the Vikings. Sorry. Don't mean to disappoint Vikings fans or my buddy Craig Kilborn on this, but I'm just not into it. So 7-1, this Vikings team, and they get the Bills this week. But did you know that if Josh Allen doesn't play for the Bills this week, and Case Keenum instead gets the start, that the Vikings would be playing a game this year for the fourth time against a backup quarterback? Did you know that? Did you know? Week 1, they obviously beat the Packers 23-7. That's like clubbing baby seals. We know what the Packers are at this stage of the season. Eagles in week 2, they get basically shut down 24-7 on the road in Philly. They beat the Lions in week 3 by a razor's edge, 28-24. They beat Andy Dalton and the Saints for their fourth game of the season, 28-25. That was in overseas. They beat Justin Fields and the Bears 29-22. That game went down to the last minute. They beat not Tua, and I don't even think they beat Teddy Bridgewater. I think they beat the number 3 quarterback with the Dolphins, 24-16. They beat the Cardinals 34-26 in Minnesota. And then they beat Taylor Heineke and the Commanders 20-17. Tell me why I should be impressed with the Minnesota Vikings. Tell me, somebody, anybody. Bueller? I don't have a reason to be impressed yet. Again, not to say that they may, wind up continuing to play this well and play against good teams. But I may not even know this week when they play the Bills if it's Case Keenum starting at quarterback in Buffalo. Granted, it's a NFL road game against one of the best teams in the league, coming off a loss against the Jets, and certainly a team that's going to be fired up and PO'd, but it's the Bills without Josh Allen. It's like going to see Wicked on Broadway, and you're seeing the understudy instead of Christian Chenoweth or Idina Menzel. You know, I mean, that's essentially what you're talking about here. I mean, that's what you're getting if you go to see the Bills without Josh Allen. He is such a dynamic player. He is such a game-changing force. How you game plan for him. Now, granted, right now the Vikings have to plan for two quarterbacks, which is certainly more difficult in terms of preparation. But if Case Keenum's the one that comes running out of the tunnel on Sunday, oh man, I can't perish the thought if this Minnesota team yet again gets a break in terms of who the starting quarterback is. And it just makes it very difficult to evaluate what they are. Now, granted, offensively, you know, you look at what they've done over the last 6 games, 28, 28, 29, 24, 34, 20. They're putting points up. But I still can't really tell you what they are defensively because I'm not seeing them against the best talent. I mean, simple as that. What do you think? 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Are the Vikings for real? Make an argument. I mean, Kirk Cousins in prime time, we already know what that is. As long as he's playing during the day. Daytime Kirk, much better than primetime Kirk. We already know that. And we know what that means come the postseason, too. And for those that don't know, Josh Allen is dealing with this UCL injury, this right elbow injury. ESPN's Chris Mortensen reported Monday the right elbow injury to the ulnar collateral ligament and related nerves. And Sean McDermott's basically saying, we'll see. And I don't think they legitimately know. Now, a lot of times teams play coy with this stuff. But if you watch Josh Allen throw the ball, and granted he was able to throw it a long way, he was definitely in discomfort. And if you have to sit him, and even if it means taking an L to Minnesota and potentially falling behind in the AFC East, if it means that he needs an extra week, you cannot afford to have him tear that UCL. It would be catastrophic to the Buffalo Bills season and potentially to the career. When you start talking about elbow injuries, now you're talking about Tommy John surgery, and you don't think of Tommy John surgery when you talk about quarterbacks, but it's a very similar throwing motion. Roger Clemens used to throw footballs. I don't know if people remember this, but Roger Clemens used to throw footballs. During his days in Toronto, he had this special training regimen, which may have involved other things, just saying. But he used to throw footballs because it's a very similar throwing motion, and it was something that strengthened his arm. There's a reason he was able to play for all those years, and you could say performance-enhancing drugs, all that stuff. I'll tell you that the guy was just a workout fiend. But the motions are definitely similar. So the elbow injury would not, be uncommon to guys that are quarterbacks, and they throw a lot. And they throw throughout the week. So we're going to have to see what happens with Josh Allen. But if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I play it very conservatively when it comes to making sure he's right for that game. What would you do? 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Thought on the Vikings. Are they for real? Let me know your thoughts as we continue with the program. Live betting, we're keeping tabs on the Lakers and the Clippers. Getting ready for the third quarter out at Crypto. Our live bet tonight, our first live bet on this game, is under 219.5. Clippers lead the Lakers at the half, 54-52. We gave you that live bet just before the end of the first half. I may have more on this game, though, because I got it on, so I'm kind of watching it. So we'll tell you what's going on in that game as we continue. 800-224-2004. We continue with this hour of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Do me a favor, send me the 3 hours of the show tonight. Thank you.
I think, won a lot of games there without one on.
$26 minutes past the hour. Coming up in about 13 minutes, How Petty Can You Be? The Pete Carroll edition. Tom Brady losing millions with an S at the end. Not a million, but millions. We'll talk about that coming up in a little while as well. Plus an update on the story involving Brittany Griner in a Russian prison. An update to that story that we'll get to coming up a little later on in the show. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 on Twitter at the back page. We talk about live betting in this segment. We love doing that. Our live betting game of the night is the Lakers and the Clippers. We told you just before halftime to take 219.5, the under on the live betting. 219.5. Right now, Clippers 5-0 run to start the third quarter, lead the Lakers 59-52. The Lakers right now plus 6.5 on the live betting, plus 250 on the live money line. And the line has dropped to 217.5, which tells you we're in good shape right now as far as our under pick for 219.5. I might have another bet coming up on this. I haven't really decided yet. Might have another bet coming. The NFL is one and good. Good God. I got to say, if you're somebody who bets on the NFL or the NBA, those two sports in particular is where this seems to be a problem, more so than the NHL or in baseball. Where granted in baseball, you can complain about an umpire behind home plate with a liberal strike zone or a tight strike zone or something like that. But that's kind of, strike zones are somewhat subjective, somewhat open to interpretation. In the NFL and NBA, we see it all the time. Missed calls, botched calls, interference calls that shouldn't be interference calls. And again, interference is one of those subjective things, but you get Tom Brady thrown down in that Atlanta game, several weeks ago, and the pass, roughing the passer gets called, all these different things. And once again, you have this situation, and I'm telling you, betting changes how you look at these sorts of stories, especially if you're on the wrong end of it. You got the NFL admitting that officials botched two big penalties and the Bears lost to the Dolphins. And for Chicago, that's 3-6 and fighting to stay alive in this NFC playoff picture where, heck, 8 or 9 wins might get you the third playoff spot. For them to lose the way they did, 35-32 at home to Miami, is just crushing. And there were two notable penalties that had a negative impact on the Bears. Both of them were pass interference. And according to Alex Shapiro of NBC Sports Chicago, the NFL said, upon review, its officials missed on those exact calls. We screwed up. Our bad. It does nothing for you if you're the Bears after the fact. I can't help but go back to Dennis Erickson, who got screwed. Might have been against the Raiders. Was Seattle, the old Kingdome. It was a game late in the season. They wound up losing. He wound up losing his job after the year. They missed out on the playoffs by that game. And that was it. That was it for the career of Dennis Erickson, basically, in the NFL. And these calls have an impact on the lives of players and coaches and the direction that organizations will take. One game could be the difference. The first was a pass interference call on Bears safety Eddie Jackson, where his back was to the receiver and he was going for the ball. The NFL admitted penalty shouldn't have been called. Play the ball, try to turn into a receiver, as we've taught our DBs, Jackson said after the game. The second penalty, and the one that might be more egregious, was a no call when it was blatant pass interference where Bears receiver Chase Claypool had two arms wrapped around him. I saw this play. They had two arms wrapped around him and was pulled down before the ball even got to him. And the NFL said, oh yeah, penalty should have been called there. So you get called for one, you get a no call on the other end. And again, you cannot help it if you are somebody that has money on a game and these sorts of things take place. How can your mind not go to the conspiracy theory of, well, they got money on the game, or they know somebody who does, or they owe a favor to somebody? I mean, after the Donaghy stuff, in the NBA, would anything really surprise you anymore? I'm not saying that's what happened in this case. I know it makes it sound like I am. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. But if you're the league, you've got to go beyond just saying, oh, we got it wrong. The NFL's got to go further than that. Officials have to be sanctioned. They have to be taken off games. There has to be a penalty. There has to be consequences for getting it so badly wrong. Twice. And to the degree that it's costing teams games. I mean, Justin Fields played his heart out in that game. That could have been his signature moment as a Chicago Bear. Pass interference in that spot, it would have had the Bears set up inside Miami's 25. Certainly would have been enough to tie the game with a field goal. It's just, it's very frustrating. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't even know how we talk about it with people who cover the league, because it's such a taboo topic and it's been so off limits. And for years, you've been looked at as a crazy if you say, well, something seems fishy here. But don't you have to look at these things? If you're the NFL, don't you owe it? You know, you've embraced sports betting now if you're the NFL. You've got kiosks in stadiums where people can go and bet on games. So don't you have to, on some level, don't you owe it to your fans, the fan bases, people who cover the game? Don't you owe it to them to make sure to cover these things in a more comprehensive way and make sure there is nothing untoward going on? I don't even know how you do that. That's a whole nother topic. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Imagine if you had money on the Bears in that spot. Imagine if you had a big nut. Imagine if you had a big number on them. I mean, yeah, it's crushing. Could take away your whole bankroll. 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page. One more side note. Dusty Baker makes it official. He's going to manage the Astros in 2023 after winning a World Series. If you thought he might just kind of go and sit on the front porch and drink country time lemonade now that he got his World Series, think again. He wants another. Wants to run it back. And honestly, who could blame him? He's got a team that's talented enough to do it. Curious to see what happens with Justin Verlander there. If JV is back in the fold. I'd like to see the Yankees go get him. But you know what's going to happen. If the Yankees go get him next year, he's going to be 9-7 with like an ERA of 4. And we'll be going nuts about how bad he is. And the Yankees, blow $20 million on him. You can just see it coming. It never fails. The Yankees always get guys 1 year late. What is it, Javi Vasquez? The pitcher? Oh, God. Who was the other White Sox pitcher? The beard, skinny guy. What the hell was his name? I can't think of his name. It's terrible. McDowell. Oh, it's terrible. Pete Carroll is being petty. I'll give you an example as to how he is being petty. That's next on the Cash In, SportsMap Radio. I did. Let me make sure that it recorded correctly, because last night I had an issue with an interview I recorded. So let me make sure it's good. But hold on. I'll check.
And I don't want that to be confused.
We got 20 minutes till the top of the hour. Cash in on SportsMap Radio. Clippers lead the Lakers 69-63. Oh, that 219.5 under bet we gave you. That is looking mighty juicy right now. It's feeling like a winner. We're not going to say it is a winner. We don't want to. We want all the votes to be counted in election parlance. But right now, 69-63, 4:57 to go, third quarter, under 219.5, looking really good. But all you need is overtime and you get screwed. So, obviously, we're not going to get our hopes too high yet. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter at the back page if you're feeling in the mood for that. At the back page. By the way, Matt Stafford in concussion protocol. The Rams are 3-5. Their season is on the brink right now. And now you're looking potentially at being without Matthew Stafford this week. That's a big problem. That's a big problem. But we'll see. See what happens this weekend. Another pivotal weekend for a lot of teams. You start talking about some of these 3-6 teams. Now you're talking 3-7, and your season's basically over at that point. Next hour, we'll do our picks like we do every week. Week 10 in the NFL. Not our picks, but we look at the early lines, including the Thursday night game tomorrow night, which we will have covered for you here on the Cash In, live betting talk, post-game, all of that good stuff like we do every Thursday on the program. So Pete Carroll is being petty. And again, there's a right way and a wrong way. It amazes me, where we are today. And look, I get Pete Carroll's an older guy, so he's probably a little less restrained in his comments, much closer to the end of his career than he is the start of it. So you tend to be less restrained in what you say, unless you're Bill Belichick, who still to this day is able to restrain himself. He has such discipline, and we like to crush him for it in the media, and sometimes it's frustrating to watch. It's like trying to get water out of a stone, but it's a part of covering that team that just sort of comes with the territory, whereas Pete Carroll just going to say whatever's on his mind. And when it comes to the split with Russell Wilson, you got another little peek into the acrimony that exists between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. So the head coach took a subtle jab at Wilson, who signed with the Broncos this offseason after he played 10 years and won Super Bowl title together. Part of this whole trade. I mean, Seattle got a whole bunch of things in return. And they turned over the franchise to Geno Smith, and it's proven to be a terrific move for the organization. And, well, I'll tell you what Pete Carroll said. While talking about the Seahawks' success with Geno Smith at quarterback, Carroll applauded Smith's willingness to wear a wristband. You see a lot of these guys wear wristbands on the field, and it's got the play call sheet on it. Well, apparently, Russell Wilson didn't like wearing the wrist, the guard on his wrist with the plays on it. Quote, "If you notice, Geno's going off the wristband, and that's a big help," Carroll said on Seattle Sports 710 Monday after Seattle's win against the Cardinals. It's smooth. Oh my God, I can't say this word. It smoothed things out, sped things up, cleaned things up. And that's part of it too. We never did that before. There was resistance to that. So we didn't do that before. Those are the words of Pete Carroll. Now, he obviously didn't say Wilson's name, but anybody with a half a brain can figure out what he's saying there. He's taking a shot, not so veiled, at a guy that helped him win a Super Bowl. People seem to forget Pete Carroll was a failure as an NFL head coach prior to his time in Seattle. And what did that time in Seattle coincide with? Oh, yeah, Russell Wilson. So here he is taking cheap shots at Russell Wilson because of the fact that he didn't want to wear a wristband. And you know what? I thought Russell Wilson had a great response to Pete Carroll. Take a listen.
You don't like we come to find out you don't like the play sheet on the wristband?
Come to find out, what do you mean?
Well, there's, Pete Carroll said something about putting the play calls on the wristband.
I don't know exactly what he said, but I think, won a lot of games there without one on the wrist. Put it, and I didn't know winning or losing mattered if you wore a wristband or not. But I think that do whatever it takes to make sure that we're rolling and moving and everything else. The few times I've definitely worn a wristband, depending on the game plan and what we have called and all that stuff. But yeah.
And you can see the smile on his face when he answered the question. I mean, what are you doing if you're Pete Carroll in that spot? What do you gain from that? Make you feel better? You go to sleep at night feeling better about yourself? Oh, I got in a dig. And it just doesn't make you look like the better man. And sometimes it doesn't even come down to being the better man. It makes you look like a petty man. When you take cheap shots at the guy that got you the one thing that you may not have otherwise gotten, something head coaches coach forever and never get. A Super Bowl. And he almost damn near got you to a second one. Run the football. I mean, 2 consecutive Super Bowl appearances for Pete Carroll during his tenure with Russell Wilson there. It's just, I can't, there's just no defense of Pete Carroll in that spot to say that sort of thing. And it's easy to kick Russell Wilson when he's down and the team's not playing well. They're 3-5, as we were talking about with Nick Ferguson last night. It's less than a season on the brink at this point. You just need wins to make you feel good about yourself. You got one before the bye. Can you get one coming out? Wilson, just 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, just under 59% pass completion. And the Seahawks are lighting it up with Geno Smith. They've won 4 in a row, and they're 6-3. And Pete Carroll's feeling himself. But he forgets what his career was like before Russell Wilson. And go look at the Pete Carroll coaching numbers before Russell Wilson arrived on the scene in his life. I mean, it's not pretty. It's not anything glamorous. It's not anything Hall of Fame worthy. And Pete Carroll, before Russell Wilson, 6-10 with the Jets. New England had a few, let's see. With the Jets, he was 6-10. With New England, he was 27-21. Oh, and then look. Gets to Seattle. 7-9, 7-9. Oh, and then Russell Wilson shows up. And then look, 11-5, 13-3, 12-4, 10-6, 10-5. And I know a lot of people right now want to give Pete Carroll all the credit because he's winning with Geno Smith at quarterback. It's not like they're dinking and dunking with Geno Smith. Geno Smith is making the plays. So let's calm down with the, Pete Carroll hyperbole now. Because the last 2 years with a Russell Wilson who was kind of meh, he was 7-10. I mean, come on. I have very little tolerance for people that have short memories. And Pete Carroll, with that comment, proved that in that moment, he didn't have the restraint, the maturity, even at, the age of 71, to hold back just a little. The easy thing is to say it. The The hard thing is to hold it back. Tom Brady is losing millions right now. He could lose millions due to his massive cryptocurrency investments, according to CoinDesk.com. He and his ex-wife Gisele Bundchen, they took part in a long-term partnership with both FTX.com and FTX.us, which made Brady a brand ambassador and Bundchen an environmental and social initiatives advisor. FTX was in discussions with investors for up to $1 billion in funding at a valuation of an estimated $32 billion in September, but has since significantly dropped. And Binance was supposed to take him over, and now that deal is supposedly falling through. So Brady's net worth was valued. Ready for this? This is going to take your breath away. Tom Brady's net worth was valued at around $250 million prior to his cryptocurrency investments. And Gisele's net worth was actually $400 million. Yeah, she's worth more than him. So everybody was like, oh, she's going to make out in a divorce. No, actually, she doesn't need to. Brady launched his own NFT company in April. Said he was a big believer in crypto. Said he had purchased digital coins during the CoinDesk Consensus 2021 forum. And now it's not looking so good for Tom Brady when it comes to crypto. You watch what's happened in the crypto markets. And if you're one of those people that got crypto when it was really high or got it low and kept it when it was really high, you're kind of feeling some regret right now. Yeah. That's about right. 1-800-224-2004. I've dabbled in crypto. Hey, Belmer, have you ever done anything with crypto? No. I've dabbled in it. Bought a little bit. Sold it. When it got high. So I played with it a little bit. Yeah. Dogecoin. Yeah. Well, everybody's looking for that quick get-rich scheme, man. I get people approaching me about crypto stuff all the time. All the time. Hey, let me talk about my friends over at Jock Market. Jock MKT. It's like the stock market, except it's for athletes. They offer live daily markets for sports, lets you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money, and each share is a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Bid on shares before the games in the IPO phase, then trade shares live while the games are happening. They're currently live in 36 states with more to come for NFL, NBA, NHL, PGA, NASCAR, Major League Baseball. Just head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com. Deposit with my promo code CASHIN to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. My promo code CASHIN on your first deposit. Get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. Again, head over to the Jock MKT app and download it, or jockmkt.com. Give it a try. It's a lot of fun. It's fantasy, but it also has an element of sort of stock market aspect to it. It's a lot of fun. jockmkt.com here on the Cash In. We'll come back, wrap up this hour of the program next. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Clippers back up 12. Say now you can get the Lakers at plus 750. Maybe. I still like that under. 219.5 still looks good. Problem is, if the Lakers come back, there's a good chance it goes over. You know what I mean? Does it mean you'll have a lot of points scored? Oh, boy, oh, boy. Boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Do you believe? Getting ready to put the wraps on hour number 2 of the show. It's the Clippers 92, the Lakers 82. And right now, the live betting on the Lakers is plus 1,060. I mean, that is some value. 10 points in an NBA game, early fourth quarter. Well, now it's 13. 95-82. I'm the guy that's always going to be willing to throw a few shekels down on a team in a game where they're, plus whatever, plus 900 in this case for the Lakers, who trail 95-84 with 9:37 to go in the fourth quarter, because there's just so much value in that spot. The only problem is, and I was talking about this with John Belmer during the break, our earlier live bet that we gave you tonight, I have not given a second one, but the earlier live bet I gave was 219.5, and I said take the under. Problem is, if you take the Lakers plus 900, you're betting on the game to go over that number, because it means a lot of points are going to have to be scored for the Lakers in order to be able to erase that sort of deficit. And then you got, possibilities of overtime. Game is late. You start to get into a fouling situation. It's very tricky. So 219.5, that's still our live betting pick. We'll keep tabs on that in the final hour of the show, which is right around the corner. Our Week 10 NFL peek ahead at the schedule when it comes to the lines. It's next on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. I'll be back. All right. Careful. Careful. Whopper, Whopper, Junior Whopper. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. I think this promo is a little outdated too. Wednesday/Thursday edition of the show. So glad you're with us. Whether you're consuming the show on the SportsMap Radio app, one of our SportsMap Radio affiliates around the country. Hello to our new affiliate, 99.1 FM in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Glad to have you with us. Or our friends in Dallas, 97.1 The Freak. Love you guys too. Thanks for being a part of the show tonight. We've gotten into a whole slew of different topics over the course of the program. Dallas, by the way, a loser tonight in Orlando to the Magic, 94-87. Orlando's playing a little bit better as of late. 3-3 at home. I mean, that's progress for that organization. Paulo Banchero didn't even play tonight, and they still won. Franz Wagner had 22 in the victory. And you know who's getting run right now? I don't know. Belmer, I don't know how much you follow the NBA. You know who's starting to get minutes? And he's so amazing to watch because he is like the skinniest thing I've ever seen on a basketball court. Bol. Dude, he's getting significant minutes, and the guy's producing. And everybody, I remember, when he first came in the league, everybody was kind of, it's sort of one of these, sights to see, 7'5" or whatever. And he's out there, running up and down the floor, and it almost looks awkward, but he's really athletic and he can shoot. He had 11.7 rebounds tonight, 2 of 2 from 3. I mean, the Bol thing is pretty cool, I got to say. I got a bunch of his rookie cards, so I have a little motivation for him to be good, too. Luka tonight, held under 30 for the first time this season. We're back with Week 10 NFL early lines next on the Cash In, SportsMap Radio. Is there anybody greater on this network, on any network, than going right up to the end of the segment than me? No, I don't think so. It's a gift. It's a gift, man. Lakers trail 101-89. 5:41 to go in the fourth. That under looks really good. What happened here? Oh, LeBron just got hurt. Going back to the locker room. That under looks really good now. It's like he hurt something in his abdominal region. Could be that, too. Yeah, could be that. Eesh. That's all that team needs. Wow, it's early for that. This might be the other podcast segment tonight. "12 minutes past the hour. One of my favorite things we do on this show every week. We get into the NFL Week 10, well, whatever week it is, but in this case, Week 10 early NFL line check. Take a peek ahead, see what's awaiting us. Obviously, we're not doling out any picks or anything like that at this stage of the week, but just giving you a sense of kind of what's out there, where the early lines are. Might have some games we like, but we do Page's picks on Friday for that. I think I'm 16-17 on the year. I know I'm a game under 500 still. I go 2-2 every week. I am Mr. 500. I should just do live betting because I'm Page's picks. I'm just 2-2 every week. Goes without saying. All right, so NFL Week 10 lines. Let's start with the Falcons and the Panthers, the Thursday night game in Carolina. Look, I mean, big game for Atlanta. You got to have this one. You're now tied with the Buccaneers on the top of the NFC South. They have the tiebreaker right now by virtue of the game you played with them earlier in the year. So Atlanta needs this game. -2.5 on the road in Carolina. And look, the Panthers have played tough. I mean, Carolina is, since Steve Wilkes took over and, you know, they made the trade of Christian McCaffrey, this team plays hard for him. He might be coaching himself into a situation where he gets to take this team over next year. You never know. If they continue to play hard for him, that's something that new ownership group there in Carolina is certainly going to be looking at as they examine the situation. It's Atlanta -2.5, and the number is 42.5. Don't have an opinion one way or another. The only thing here's my pick. There will be less than 10 million people watching that game on Prime Video. I mean, Prime Video, what are you doing? What games are you giving us, NFL? Ugh, it's so bad. So we're not touching that one. All right, let's get to the Sunday slate of games. Seattle and Tampa Bay, obviously a big one over in the UK. Or actually, not even the UK, in Munich. Playing in Germany. So that game in Germany, Seahawks +3 is very odd to me. It tells you that Vegas still is giving all this respect to Tampa Bay. Why? I have no idea. It seems like a sucker bet. I feel like I'm getting drawn in, but if I had to take a pick on it right now, it'd be the Seahawks +3. How do you pick? I mean, they've won 4 in a row. They could score with the best of them. Tampa Bay has trouble putting points on the board. Everything about this game tells me that this line is a mistake. And I always say this every week. Vegas gets one line, at least one line, horribly wrong. And this year it's been 2 or 3 because they're still relying on Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and these guys playing to their old standard, and they're just not. So Seattle +3 I love right now. 44.5 is the total for that game, neutral site game, obviously. It's a Buccaneers home game, but it's in Munich. Jaguars and Chiefs. Kansas City did not impress last week on Sunday night against a Tennessee team playing its backup quarterback. It's a must-win for the Jaguars at this point. They've obviously struggled mightily since a 2-2 start. I expect Kansas City to come out firing on all cylinders. If I were to go anything with this, it would be the total 50.5. I'd probably lean towards the over in that game. Texans and the Giants, boy, what a way to come off a bye week if you're the Giants. You get the Texans. And you really avoid the letdown effect because you're coming off a bye and you've had, a couple of weeks to kind of think about this game. And guys are rearing to go and the adrenaline's pumping. I love the Giants this week. Right now, the only thing available on that game is the total, which is 40.5. Some injuries there. Obviously, they have to be taken into consideration before we get a cleaner look at what that line will be. We'll see what it is by the time we get to Friday. Lions and the Bears. Look, Chicago's just playing better football, and the Lions aren't. I know they got the win over the Packers, but as much of that game has to do with what the Packers can't do offensively as much as what the Lions are doing. And after this offense looked really dynamic over the first several weeks of the season, it's kind of come to a grinding halt. I know some of that has been injuries, DeAndre Swift being hurt for a number of weeks, but I like Chicago -3 if I were to be leaning towards anything, and I'd probably be looking at the under in that game at 48.5. No line on the Saints and Steelers as of now. Quarterback concerns for both of those teams there, so not sure who's going to be playing, so obviously no line there. Browns in Miami to take on the Dolphins, another team in a must-win situation being Cleveland, hanging on for dear life in that AFC North, and right now the Dolphins, with Tua on the field, they've been unbeatable. I mean, there's no getting around it. When Tua is healthy, they win. And at home. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. 48.5 is the number. I would lean towards the over in that game. Miami -3.5. Not sure I would touch that. The Vikings and the Bills, obviously the game everybody's talking about this week with Minnesota. Damn near perfect this year in terms of their record. But, again, not being a team that a lot of people believe in. And it's kind of interesting that there's a line on this game right now, considering Josh Allen is still kind of up in the air as to whether or not he plays. Buffalo is -3.5. I wouldn't touch this until I know that Josh Allen is playing, because the difference between Josh Allen and Case Keenum, it's like the difference between driving a Tesla and driving a Toyota Prius. They're both cars that have some ability to have some electric behind them, but no, it's Josh Allen or it's Case Keenum. I'll wait until I know who's going to play in that game before I decide anything. If Josh Allen's playing, Buffalo -3.5 feels like a bargain. So if you want to take a chance, throw a little wager out there on the fact that Josh Allen plays because he's a gamer and he's that kind of guy, then maybe you're taking Buffalo -3.5 right now. Denver coming off the bye in Tennessee to take on the Titans, who are going to just try to run the football if Ryan Tannehill isn't playing. Right now, the Titans are -2.5. 30. Wow. You want to talk about two offenses that nobody's expecting anything from. 36.5 is the total. That might be the lowest total we've seen this year. 36.5. And it still might go under. I know it sounds crazy, but 36.5 still might go under. Titans +2.5. 36.5 is the total. I'd probably stay away from it. If anything, I'd lean towards the under in that game. Indianapolis with a new head coach in Jeff Saturday. A lot of eyes will be on him in Las Vegas to take on the Raiders, and they may soon need a new head coach because Josh McDaniels, this team has been terrible. Blowing leads. They have just been abysmal this year. The Raiders -5.5 in this game. I have zero faith in the Raiders. I have zero faith in the Colts. A lot of times, though, when you get a coaching change, guys will come out, play inspired football for at least one game, with that new, head coach there, even if it is an interim head coach. Jeff Saturday obviously commands a lot of respect for what he's meant to that organization. I don't know how it translates in this situation. They're in the late window. there on Sunday in Las Vegas. Colts and the Raiders. -5.5 are the Raiders. 42.5 is the total. I would probably stay away from it. Cardinals and Rams, you heard the news on Matt Stafford. He's entered concussion protocol, and the Cardinals right now are +1.5 on the road at SoFi against the Rams. 41.5 is the total. I'd need more information on who's going to start at the quarterback position there. The other late Sunday game, Cowboys and the Packers in Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to get stomped. -5 is the number. 43 is the total. I would lean towards the under in that game. I think the Packers are going to have a tough time generating any offense. If they couldn't generate offense against Detroit, what do you think they're going to do against this Dallas defense? That has just been swallowing teams throughout the year. Dallas -5, I kind of like. I definitely like the under right now at 43. The Sunday night game, Chargers and the 49ers with San Francisco -7. Under 45.5 right now is the total. Probably a game I would stay away from at this point. I don't have a strong feeling one way or another on it. The Monday night game, no line on it yet. Commanders and the Eagles in Philadelphia. There is a total. It's 43.5. I would probably lean towards the under in that game. So that's your early peek. Week 10 in the NFL. Hopefully we've given you some insights and kind of given you an idea as to what's going on. What's going on in the NBA between the Clippers and Lakers? It is our live betting game of the night. We gave you a pick late in the second quarter for the Lakers at 219.5. We said take the under at 219.5 late in the second quarter. We'll tell you how that's going. They are late in the fourth quarter with the Clippers and Lakers. We'll tell you what's going on in that game. U.S. men's national team on the soccer side announces who their roster is. We'll get into that for a few minutes. Kurt Heelan will join us later in the hour, talk a little bit about the NBA as well as we continue on the cash-in. Glad to have you with us on this Wednesday. It's SportsMap Radio. That's it. Under comes in, baby. It's another winner. Get the cash register fired up. Telling you, man, my live betting numbers are so good this year. It's where the money is. I'm telling you. Yeah, okay. Smoking marijuana is bad, okay? Okay. Four straight double-digit losses for the Lakers. Yeesh. Good win for Sacramento tonight. Beat the Cavs. 7 guys in double figures. Wow. Put up 127 on the Cavs. It's impressive. Donovan Mitchell play? Yeah, he did. Wow, Donovan Mitchell at 38. 38 on 16 of 28 shooting. It's some numbers. We continue with our final hour on this Wednesday/Thursday. Great win for the Kings tonight. Beat the Cavaliers 127-120 to go to 4-6 on the year. Donovan Mitchell, 38 on 16 of 28 shooting. He's so good. Man, he is so good. But story was the Kings tonight. They had 7 guys in double digits. Donatas Sabonis led the way. He had 21 on just 8 shots. It's because he was 11 of 12 from the free throw line. So Mike Brown gets the Kings to 4-6 on the year. And they just had a close loss earlier this week against the Warriors. You're talking about a team that's playing around 500 basketball. But the bigger news tonight, sound the cash register. We're winners. Yep. Yet again. Another live bet for the cash-in pays off. If you're not listening to this show every night, you're just losing money. Plain and simple. Another live bet hits. Every night it feels like we're hitting on live betting. The Clippers tonight beat the Lakers 114-101. It's the 4th straight double-digit loss for the Lakers. Now, the live bet we gave you late in the second quarter was under 219.5 in that game. Late in the second quarter, I told you all, take the under at 219.5. And if you did, you're cashing in. Thank you. Appreciate that. And if not, sorry. You're losing out. Yeah? He who hesitates, well, you can figure out what rhymes with it. 114-101 Clippers beat the Lakers without Kawhi Leonard. Boy, this Kawhi Leonard situation, I know I was planning to talk about soccer here, but this Kawhi Leonard situation in Los Angeles with the Clippers, you're just getting the feeling it's never going to happen. And who knows if it's, I hear some people, it's a combination of some people that say, well, he's soft. He doesn't want to play through pain. And I always think it's very tricky when you start to get into the motivations or pain threshold or tolerance level for certain athletes. I think that is a very dangerous, risky area to go into as announcers because you don't know what that player is feeling. You don't know what their insecurities may be. And for some people, they just have to feel like they're at full strength in order to do what they need to do on a basketball court. And Kawhi Leonard, this continues to be an issue that recurs with him. And it's stiffness in the surgically repaired knee that's giving him problems right now. And they have no timetable for his return. And the Clippers aren't winning anything. I know they got to win tonight, and that's all fine and good. It's the Lakers, so that's not saying a heck of a lot. I mean, Los Angeles, that being the Lakers, is 2-9, and the Clippers are starting to win some basketball games now. They're 7-5. But in terms of playoff aspirations or title aspirations, without Kawhi Leonard, it's not going to happen. Paul George led the way with 29 tonight. LeBron had 30 in the loss for the Lakers before he left the floor with some kind of injury, and we don't know exactly what it was. And the Lakers are a whole nother story for another day. But the Clippers story with Kawhi Leonard at this point, you have to wonder, is this Grant Hill? Now, Grant Hill, it was actual injuries where he physically could not play. There are a lot of people that are saying Kawhi Leonard could be playing through this. It's a surgically repaired knee. It's going to get stiff. You've had tons of work done to the knee. It's going to get stiff. You're going to have problems playing with it. And at what point, if you're Kawhi, are you ever going to have the confidence in that knee? Every time you feel a little tweak, a little twinge, are you just going to say, I got to sit out? I don't know how you operate as a franchise around your franchise players with him and Paul George. I don't know how you operate a franchise that way. So as an organization, they got to get their heads together and sit down with Kawhi and be able to say, all right, look, what are we doing here? I mean, if you're feeling stiffness the whole year, does that mean you're never playing? When we're just talking about stiffness, we're not talking about any reason for the stiffness other than the fact that you've had surgery so many times on this knee. I mean, what is it at this point? 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. I feel for Clippers fans. I feel for Kawhi. Unless it's a situation where he just simply doesn't want to play, but I can't imagine that. Tweet at the show at the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter at the back page. So the United States men's national team on the soccer side has named its 26-player roster for the men's national soccer team's long-anticipated return to the World Cup after they missed out in 2018. I believe that we will win. Wednesday night in Brooklyn, Greg Berhalter, the U.S. coach, revealed the 26 players. It's a young team. That's the one thing I do know. I was watching the coverage of this today on ESPN, and it's a young team. Christian Pulisic is obviously somebody a lot of people will have their eyes on. Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. There were some surprising selections. Veteran center Tim Ream, young forward Haji Wright, neither of whom had featured much in the team's qualifying campaign over the last year. Zach Steffen was once looked at as the team's number one goalkeeper, not on the roster. Neither was Ricardo Pepi. The teenage striker had 3 goals for the U.S. in the qualifying tournament. And people still aren't sure who's going to start at striker. November 21st, the Americans face Wales in their opening match of the World Cup. They'll play England after that before closing out the group stage against Iran on November 29th. So if you're the U.S., you're thinking we go 2-1 in the group stage and we get through. That's essentially what you're thinking. You're figuring you beat Wales, you lose to England, and then you beat Iran. But that Iran game's probably going to be the deciding factor as to whether or not they get out of the group stage. I'm ready for the World Cup. Are you a big soccer guy, Belmer? It's the same problem, yeah. Yeah, we'll do some stuff. We'll do some stuff on the around the World Cup. We'll get some guests on and talk about it. And obviously, we'll talk about it from the betting standpoint as well, because what fun would it be if we weren't talking about it from the betting aspect? By the way, I'm disgusted with the fact that this World Cup is being held in Qatar. And I'll be selfish here for a moment. As an openly gay male who hosts a sports talk show, Qatar's human rights record surrounding the LGBTQ community is disgusting. It's deplorable. And the fact that this event is being held there is, well, it's an abomination. Plain and simple. I'll watch because it's my job to watch, but if it wasn't my job to watch, I'd be boycotting this World Cup. I wouldn't watch it for a second. And the fact is, the Qatarians basically paid off everybody to get this World Cup in their country. So, Steve Blatter and all those guys, they should all be ashamed. Or Seth Blatter, not Steve Blatter. Seth Blatter. We'll come back and hear from Kurt Heelan on the NBA Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. That's next on the Cash-In. It's SportsMap Radio. All right. I got it on my end. All right, all right, all right. We proceed on this Wednesday. SportsMap Radio. SportsMap Radio app. We playing around with telephone number 1-800-224-2004 on Twitter at the back page if you want to hit me up there. What on earth? We proceed. We proceed on this Wednesday. SportsMap Radio. SportsMap Radio app. The telephone number, 1-800-224-2004. Hold on. We proceed on this Wednesday. SportsMap Radio. SportsMap Radio app. The telephone number, 1-800-224-2004 on Twitter at the back page if you want to hit me up there. SportsMap Radio. SportsMap Radio app. What on earth is on my screen? The telephone number, 1-800-224-2004 on Twitter at the back page. Always happy to talk NBA as we do. It feels like about every other week. What on earth is on my screen? Oy vey. Always happy to talk NBA as we do. It feels like about every other week we have Kurt Heelan on the show to get into what's going on around the NBA. And today, it just feels like every day there's a big story that comes out of the league. And again, I can't remember an early part of the season where this has been happening so much as it has been this season. So let's bring in Kurt. Joins us from Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Find him on Twitter at Basketball Talk. Kurt, the Nets made the decision to drop the interim tag and hire Jacques Vaughn as head coach. For those that may not be in the know, explain why this happened this way when Ime Udoka, Adrian Wojnarowski, and everybody told us that was who's going to be the next head coach.
It was almost like everybody from CAA wanted that to happen. The deal was pretty simple. Look, there are. I don't think we need to detail just how much of a PR mess the Nets are already in the middle of. So hiring Ime Udoka would have just look. Apparently, this is why I had heard this. This was the guy Kevin Durant wanted. Remember, he was an assistant under Steve Nash. This was somebody who had a lot of success last year. But the backlash after he's been suspended for an inappropriate relationship and whatever else exactly, we don't have all the details. Nobody has, I think you and I have discussed, nobody quite has all the puzzle pieces together except maybe some people in Boston, and they're not talking, with the organization. But it was enough that they'd suspend him for a year. A coach who took them to the finals last year. If the Nets had hired him while he was on suspension, the backlash would have been insane on top of everything else that was going on with the Nets. And I think ultimately that's, and maybe what they learned, maybe the Celtics talked to them about what went on. They just decided to take, I wouldn't even say the safe route. They took the stable route. They went for stability. They leaned into the guy who's been an assistant there for multiple, I think since 2016, who was there during Atkinson, who was there during Nash, who understands the organization, who is a former NBA head coach, maybe isn't going to light the world on fire, but certainly isn't going to screw things up. And they kind of went for stability because there's so little of it around them right now. I don't think it's a bad hire. I don't know that I'll ask you, do you think anybody can coach this team? And I don't know who's going to suddenly come in and turn this team into successful, the contending team they thought they were.
Well, it seems like it seems like more than anything, Kurt, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, it feels like this was more from, what it looked like from a PR and optics standpoint was the reason they opted not to do it more than from a basketball perspective. But do you think there's a chance that he wasn't wanted by a Kevin Durant type that, or some of these other guys that were, associated with this roster? I can't imagine it was that. So it had to be the PR and optics.
Oh, it was optics and PR. And they basically said somebody finally said to, I think it was to Sham, somebody off the record, but somebody with the Nets said, yeah, you know what the problem, we got more information when we did our due diligence. And I'm going to forget the exact phrasing, but they basically said, we understand the backlash that's coming. And they didn't want a piece of it. And I'm not sure I totally blame them on that. That was going to be a firestorm on them if they brought him in after this. I think that would have been true of any organization, but the New York media, where they're already just all over the Nets because of the Kyrie thing, it would have just been a mess.
They've played better, though, here over the last week or so, noticeably without Kyrie Irving on the team, who they've, listed out these requirements for him to come back and play for the team. I'll get to him in a second. Does it seem like there is some sort of correlation? They've been better defensively. Does it seem like there's some sort of correlation between Kyrie's absence and the way this team is playing right now?
I'm trying to decide. I don't know that it's his absence so much as them finding a way to bond through this and just kind of focus on basketball. Kevin Durant's, and he ended up having to walk this back a little bit, but coming out and saying, man, why couldn't we just focus on basketball? Why couldn't this just be about basketball? And his phrasing the first time came off poorly. But I think his intent was really just like, man, I thought we were going to play basketball, and now we're dealing with all this again. I think they found a way to do that. Kevin Durant's been, by the way, MVP level. He's so good this season. But I don't know. I think that it's more that. I think it's more them settling into a system because they're not getting out. They're not getting. They also remember they haven't had Ben Simmons, and that's been okay.
Do you get the sense, with the requirements they've put on Kyrie in order to come back? I speculated, early in the week, and then I heard other people say it the next day, which seems to happen a lot these days. Not that anybody's listening to what I say. It's merely coincidental, but I suspect that they put this list out knowing he wouldn't acquiesce to it, and as a result they have grounds to either let him go, trade him, whatever is going to come that makes sure he is no longer a part of this team. Do you get the sense that is what is happening here?
There are a lot of people around the league who think that, and it makes some sense. Some of that stuff is asking Kyrie Irving to swallow his pride, and good luck with that. Like, I think that's part of the reason that's out there, that it gives them options if they want to do that. By the way, they can't trade him, and it's not that they wouldn't trade him. There's literally nobody. The Lakers aren't taking him right now. Nobody is taking him in a trade. It would be just too toxic. I'm not sure what you'd get back at this point. Like, I'm not sure if you could get a bag of Takis back in this trade. Like, he's done. He's nobody. He'll get another. I shouldn't say he's done. He will get another contract in the NBA. He will play for somebody next season. I don't know that he'll ever get a multi-year contract again. I think it's going to be year to year. I certainly wouldn't give him. I wouldn't even give him 2 years. A second year would be a team option. Like, I just can't imagine anybody doing that. That said, he'll get a chance, but I don't know that it's going to be this season or this season with the Nets. I don't see how a trade comes together right now. The only way it does, by the way, is he swallows his pride enough to get back on the floor, play for them. He could start playing again and remind everybody, by the way, he's still ridiculously good at basketball. It's not worth it at some point.
You subtly mentioned Takis in there. Are you a Takis guy?
No, I am not actually a Takis guy, but I have 3 daughters who might have starved to death through high school right now if it were not for Takis.
You know what my go-to was in high school? One of the first things I learned to cook, it was hamburger helper. And it's taken me all through my adult life. Like, if I didn't have hamburger helper, I'd probably be like 180 pounds and a supermodel. TikTok has changed the cooking revolution. My girls come home now and they're like, they want tomato paste, and like, we have to have a supply of tomato paste and like half and half in the house so that they can make like tomato cream pastas every day. Ooh.
Like, that's it sounds fancy, but they learned how to do it on TikTok, and then I watched them do it a couple times and said, let me help you a little.
It's like the ad says. Yeah, it's like the ad says. It's like the ad says. I learned it on TikTok.
Exactly.
Kurt
They are surviving on it. Kurt
Halen, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, joining us here on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. What Milwaukee is doing, and we've sort of buried the lead because the Nets are such a fascinating watch and a story this year, as the failures of the Lakers have been as well. What Milwaukee has done here out of the gate, there was so much talk about Boston as a finals favorite or a championship favorite. Try and put into context what Milwaukee's been able to do out of the gate here.
They have just come in playing. Continuity so matters at the beginning of a season. Like, even good teams are still trying to, the Warriors, because they're making changes off their bench and playing their kids, are still trying to figure things out. And then the Bucks come in, pretty much the same players, know what they want to do, and Giannis is playing probably the best basketball of his life, which is a kind of ridiculous thing to say. He's playing at such a high level, and they're just out there executing every night, both ends of the floor. Offense has been okay, by the way. Offense, statistically, they're middle of the pack in the league. They're able to score when they need to. Again, they've got the best player walking the face of the earth, so they can go get some buckets, but they're just stopping everybody defensively. So they're doing all this without Chris Middleton, their second best player, their crunch time shot creator. It's not Giannis. In crunch time, they go to Middleton. He's a little more of a classic pick and roll guy, and they can have Giannis set a pick, and it just causes all sorts of problems. They're doing it with Drew Holiday now, kind of in that role. And they don't have, like, Pat Connaughton's not playing, who's a key role player and floor spacer for them, and another guy who can defend. Like, they're just playing at this incredible level, and they are fully capable of keeping up, well, not probably this, probably not 9 out of 10 pace, but they're capable of playing really high-level basketball all season and carrying this into the playoffs and go. I mean, we kind of, I think, took them for granted, right? We're like, oh, Boston will be there, and maybe Cleveland will be fun, and all this. We're all like, yeah, the Bucks will be good. I think we just took them for granted, didn't we? Like,
yeah,
still really good.
I think that's very fair to say. And we often do with greatness take it for granted. And sometimes, that's the mark that you have arrived is when you've been taken for granted. Below the fold, you mentioned them briefly. It's the Cavaliers at 8-2. Is this type of start, considering this group's kind of got put together late in the game? Are you surprised with the fact that they've come out firing this well?
Yes, I am actually. I thought they'd be good, but I thought it would take a couple of years. Like, just take some time to blend, take some time to figure out how, like I said, how is the defense going to work? Because this is not a big backcourt, but their defense has been top 5 in the league or top 10. How were Garland and Donovan Mitchell going to play off each other? Well, they figured that out pretty quickly. Oh, there's a hole at the 3, but nobody's noticing that right now. Like, they just keep playing well and getting better. And, they were out here in LA for a couple of games last week. And I got to say, the first thing you notice is they like each other. This is one of the teams. The Pelicans are kind of this way this year. They just like each other. You can tell they enjoy being around each other. And then they took a lot from the loss to the Clippers, because the Clippers forced them, even without Kawhi Leonard, forced them into a playoff-style game where it slowed it down. They hunted matchups, which is what the Clippers do. They are. Paul George is a great isolation player. They're certainly better with Kawhi Leonard in that role too. But they hunt matchups. They put you in positions. They are a veteran, smart team that switches everything. And they spent a lot of time, even in the locker room after the game. Donovan Mitchell got 2 quick threes early in the quarter. The Clippers started doubling him and daring other people to beat them, and flashing at him off of those. When they didn't just switch, they'd kind of charge at him and double him up. And they were talking in the locker room afterwards. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are back there in the corner of the locker room before the media's in, but they're talking amongst themselves like, how do we handle this better? Talking about like who goes where and how they're going to handle things, because they're going to see a lot more of this going forward, and they're trying to figure out who they are. But this is a really good team that's going to be. They're going to be around, not only, around this year, but this is a team that I think for the next 3, 4, 5 years is going to be in the mix in the East.
That's Kurt Hanlon, ProBasketballTalk.com. If you want to go and check him out there, NBC Sports does a terrific job. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Have a great week.
You too, man. Take care.
We'll come back and wrap up the hour next. We proceed on this Wednesday. SportsMap Radio.
Oh, I know why it didn't play
app.
originally. God damn it. I just figured out what went wrong. There's a button I have to click on my playbacks and inside the video player, and I didn't click it. It's my fault. Just stupid. Ugh. Bleep and bleep and bleep. You and me tomorrow, right? Right. No, Brian said it was with him. Yeah, when I talked to Brian, he said it was him Friday. I say he's a nice. What are you doing this February? Want to go to football's biggest game? Well, here's what you got to do. Check out playfortickets.com. It's the place to be for the Super Pick 7 contest. Go there right now. It's completely free. Just go to playfortickets.com, sign up, make your picks, and if you pick the correct side and totals on Sunday for 7 NFL games, you're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's crazy. It's called playfortickets.com. Win 2 tickets to the 2023 big game, $50,000 cash in your pocket. Use that football expertise. You're always at the bar with your friends, talking about how much you know about the games. Well, put that knowledge to use. Every Sunday of the NFL season, including the playoffs, you got a chance to win. Couldn't be easier. Just pick the correct side and totals on Sunday for 7 games. Simple as that. 2 tickets to the 2023 big game and $50,000 cash in your pocket. It's free to play. It's playfortickets.com. Go, sign up, pick the games, win. It's going to do it for us. Thanks to Kurt Heelan. Thanks to John for producing it. We're back with you tomorrow. Another edition of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Bye! Jesus. I was limping to the finish line. Just limping to the finish line. It was like I almost bounced off the tape at the finish line. Jesus. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You got the podcast all set? You're good? All right. Have a good night. Thank you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Limping to the finish line. It's going to do it for us on the video streaming side as well. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'll catch you all back here on... I'll catch you... It's odd. I'll catch you all back here on Thursday night. We got Thursday night football to talk about. Game, live betting, all that stuff. So make sure you come and hang out with us. We'll be with you 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. SportsMap Radio or SportsMap Radio affiliates, the SportsMap Radio app, or right here on the video side. Till then, I'm Jason.